Hi, welcome to National Arts. I'm Mike Baker. We're here in Shepherdstown, the oldest town in the state of West Virginia and home to the Contemporary American Theater Festival. Each summer, the festival produces 6 new plays and rotating repertory. Play callers call it the ultimate theater experience. On this program, we'll meet Antonio Edward Suarez, who along with Dale Orlando Smith penned Antonio's song, I Was Dreaming of a Son, a poetic journey of a father, artist, and dancer in search of himself.
I'm scared. Yet there's another part of me that's saying, I'm alone. Damn, I feel so alone. And I was just trying to be, but not knowing what that was. To be me.
Antonio's song is just that. It's a beginning, middle, and end of perhaps a concert.
Mm-hmm.
And in the beginning, we hear all the themes, then somehow they play out, and eventually we go back to the main theme. And so you start with your son, and you end with your son.
Mm-hmm.
It is a beautiful thing to see.
Thank you.
And you wrote it.
Mm-hmm. I co-wrote it
Yeah.
with Dale Orlando Smith.
How long did it take?
It took about 3 years with Dale, but before that, it's been in development for about 9 years.
I was going to say, because
Yeah.
it is, it's an epic.
Mm.
It is really an individual epic, not just about you, but so many people.
Oh, great.
Yeah, absolutely. Early on, I get the feeling that you and your son are somewhat interchangeable by virtue of how you were raised and the reaction, without giving away too much, that you have to your son.
Mm-hmm.
That you're sort of interchangeable. Everything transpires from that one moment to the very end when you come back full force.
Yeah, and I think what's maybe the thing that's different, I don't want to give too much away, is I think, I'm on this journey to try to make this a different journey for him than it was for me.
Yeah. One thing that you do that perhaps you were unable to do when you were a child is that you were cognizant of the fact that children have a sixth sense, and you were able to read truth in your son's eyes. You weren't always able to do that, or your father wasn't always able to do that when you were a boy. I think that's fascinating.
Yeah, I think that's what theater offered me.
Mm-hmm.
Theater really offered me to not just look at material, look at different ways of material, but I have to look at another actor. I have to look at other people. How do I look at the world? And I started to really look in people's eyes and what does that mean? Where when I was younger, I would avoid that. Or if you looked in my eyes when I was younger, that was confrontational. But as I got older, I realized if I look in your eyes, I can get a sense of what do you mean? What is this about? What's going on? To alter my path, to alter what I can do with you, not do with you.
Well, the eyes are human connection.
Yeah.
I mean, when we look at a film, they're almost all tight shots. We're looking at the eyes. The stories are told through the eyes. So if one doesn't look in the eyes and learn through the eyes, then you don't learn. Yeah. In this particular play, the role of music is really key, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. It is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not just symphonic, with all the various parts, but it stimulates your writing.
Yeah, they're little time capsules.
Yeah.
Each music song is like, oh, I remember where I was then. Oh, I remember what I was doing then. Oh, that makes me feel this. And then, go ahead.
So as you were writing this over that course of 9 years, I know you had your earphones on, or I knew you had music in the
Stereos
background.
on, yep.
Yeah, Marvin Gaye, something
Marvin
of that
Gaye,
nature,
and
all
Donna
different types
Summer,
of things.
so all that disco stuff and rap, and it was all playing. I was like, oh, that's what this guy might sound like. Oh, wait, that is what he sounded like. Well, that's what this person sounded like. Totally helped the process.
Yeah.
Totally helped.
Oh,
Yeah.
And I think you make the comment that music somehow gets you out of your head. What does that mean exactly?
Well, once I start dancing, I'm not thinking, how am I going to move this way? How am I going to do this way? I'm just gonna follow this music. I'm gonna follow this song and see where it takes me. And it usually would take me on a path that's like, oh, I didn't expect to move like that. Which then translates into how do we move as men?
Yeah, the play's a maze. So music helps you find your way through this maze, doesn't it? Yeah. Is the piece autobiographical in some way?
In lots of ways, it's autobiographical, and it's more of a memoir. So things have happened, but they've been altered a little, changed, stretched a little. But a lot has happened that is in the play.
And of course, like so many people of color, you have to work through racism. You have to work through the neighborhood. You have to work through Brooklyn, a tough place to be, in order to emerge either victorious or fail.
Right. And I think Brooklyn is just it could be a metaphor for other places in the world that are like Brooklyn, which is what we try to, push in the show is like, it's Brooklyn, but it can be anywhere. And how do you move through it? How do you get out of it? How do you protect yourself?
Yeah, and in order to be accepted, one has to be violent. That really defines you as a man. If you beat up somebody, that's tragic. That's really tragic to measure oneself that way, but peer pressure causes that, doesn't it?
It does. It does, and it can. And if as a man, a young man, if you don't catch yourself, or if certain people don't catch you soon enough, that path can last a little longer of violence.
Yeah, and then there's no creation. There's only incarceration.
Yes.
I mean that border is so narrow between creation and incarceration.
Yeah.
It really is.
And there are men who want to help young men not go down that road, who want to be mentors.
Now, your father is a real contradiction of terms. On the one hand, he's involved with guns in some fashion, and is he actually a gunsmith or salesman, or?
I mean, he was an illegal gunsmith.
Yeah. Okay. And then, on the other hand, he has these amazing craftsman's hands. You take to that, and some of that heritage as a character comes through you, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
The artistic sense.
Yeah, because my dad was a sensitive man, and he felt things, he felt people, he felt what was going on, and he would use his hands to kind of deal with guns or deal with us in whatever way that was, but I just saw him be creative, and I would watch him from a distance, and it would be really nice to, not just the fact that he was in the house, and he was there a lot, but that I would see a different side of him that other people didn't see, that I was like, that's my dad. That's who he really is. And that was nice to see.
You talk about hands a lot in this piece. You had your mother's hands, but you, in a way, had your father's personality. Hands are truly symbolic in this piece, aren't they?
Yeah, because how I touch you, how I greet you, how whatever things that can be done with hands, really, there's such a vocabulary with hands that it's your choice what you do with them. And yeah.
Another symbol is water. That's a purifying force in your life, isn't it?
Yeah.
Just perhaps the lifeguard staring out at the ocean, contemplating one's future.
Yeah, and the beach was also like a home away from home, because it was like, I can't believe I'm at this beach every day, and this is my job. And there was a lot of thinking there, because there are the rainy days when nobody's there, and you just sit and think how am I going to what's the next move? What am I going to do next?
You were saving others. You didn't have to save yourself.
No, that was interesting too, because sometimes you save somebody and somebody was offended in the way you saved them, and then you're using your hands to defend yourself.
Yeah,
It was interesting.
That's true. You do. I mean, they're flailing in the water.
Yes,
they really are.
Yes.
It's tragic that your dad. Did your real dad die of sickle cell anemia?
Yeah, my real dad did. He
Yeah.
died of sickle cell.
And
complications from sickle cell.
Yeah, what a horrible disease.
Yeah.
And sort of, as I think back on my background, sort of came out of nowhere. That all of a sudden there was this terrible virus, whether it was hereditary or not, and there was just no way to deal with it. That played on the character of Antonio, didn't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
Mortality.
Yeah, to see my mom as she was, to see my dad as he was and how he ended up. You just don't want to see, when you have your own family, I have my own family, I didn't want to see them suffer like that or go through what they went through.
Without giving away too much, there's one moment in the play where there's a complete transformation from street kid to artist, from those hands of your father to the hands of creativity. And that is, you are perhaps watching Channel 13, PBS, and you see Baryshnikov dance, and all of a sudden something clicks in your head.
That moment is an accumulation of a lot of moments. Because I remember seeing this guy dancing. I'm like, wow, that's interesting. Wow, he's really, look at his body, the way he uses it. I like that. And never forgot that. And then I remember other people I would tell that to, they just were like, that's great. Let's build on that. Let's build on that. So that moment is also an accumulation of mentors who came across my path and happened to be there at the right place at the right time and say, you can do more than what you're doing right now.
The person I'm watching is Baryshnikov. Misha. Now, later that week, I went to the library to find out about him. And there was an interview. Baryshnikov said that he was interested in all kinds of dance. And the interviewer called him a citizen of the world. And I love that. I wanted that too. I wanted to be a part of all, to be a part of it all. To just be. I kept watching Baryshnikov, Misha, and I kept thinking about my family. And I'm thinking about what it means, what it all means. Family, being a man. And as I watched Baryshnikov, I thought about all this. And as I watched him move, I thought he had a soul pop, but he also had grace. And I thought how to do it all. Boy, girl, woman, man, Latin, black, Irish. How do I, like him, become a citizen of the world?
It's so fascinating that the arts themselves, whether it's music or dance or whatever it is, or creating a painting, there's no race.
No, there isn't.
No, you partner with everybody. Yeah, and it's one of no racial bias at all. It's one of creativity. It's one of embracing what's within. I mean, it's a fascinating thing to watch in this play.
Yeah, and I think it's a you know, a lot of the play is like an homage to those mentors who took a chance with me and was like, I see something in you. You know, mentors like Bill Wright, mentors like the Shermans, mentors, and they know who they are, who really were like, if you stick with this, there's something good that can come from this.
The images that you saw, not only in Baryshnikov, but in people like Judith Jamison and the Alvin Ailey Dance Company, and all those images that you talk about in the play are, they're trendsetters. They're a way in and a way out.
And it's interesting, I didn't know they were that until I got so much older. Until I got so much older and was like, oh, this is who they really are.
Yeah.
This is what they did. Once I got more educated and just in the scene more. It was really good to kind of like breathe into that as I got older.
And the Dance Theater of Harlem. Yeah, exceedingly prominent. Wonderful ways in, yeah, to blossom.
Yeah.
Harvard's at play here. The statuesque columns of Harvard, the Great Stone. It's sort of iconic in a way, isn't it?
It is. When I got into the program at Harvard, the American Repertory Theater at Harvard, it was like, is this really happening to me? Is this really, am I really going to go here and study theater? Is this real? So yeah, there was that moment. Clearly, like, am I really here? With Robert Brustein? With what? It was a moment I'll never forget. Never.
There's nothing else beyond that. I mean, there are other great universities, but from a name perspective, Yale, Harvard, somehow that's more than the epitome. That is set in stone as true greatness, or the exposure to greatness.
Yeah, I was surrounded by artists who were available to help me be the best I could be. And I'm forever grateful for that.
tremendous physicality in this 1 hour.
Uh,
I mean, it's almost immeasurable.
uh,
How does one do it?
I think I stretch a lot and drink a lot of water. And I think what we tried to do in this piece was really show, as a man of color, the different ways in our bodies that we can move, that we don't have to be locked into a certain way of movement. There's all these ways of expression that I'm still a man, I still move in the world the way that I do, but it doesn't mean I'm pigeonholed into these boxes. I'm all these things. I don't have to be just this guy from Brooklyn. I can be all these things, as well as this guy from Brooklyn.
Listen to the internal conversation and not necessarily the external conversation.
Yeah,
Find your being within.
yeah.
And he did. He really did. Without giving away the ending, but he does come full cycle in this piece. And it's really beautiful to see.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, it's really beautiful to see. And I can tell you love your family.
I do.
Yeah.
I do.
The writing just speaks so beautifully of a beautiful mother. It speaks of just the discovery that comes with having a child and watching them grow, because they are you.
They are. And whether you want to or not as a parent, you have to face those things that blocked you, got in your way, that you don't want to get in your kid's way.
Yeah.
And
That's a full-time job.
that's a full-time job.
Every day you get up
Yes.
and you have to put on the same face.
Face every day.
Yeah,
Every day,
because an angry face can have a pretty dramatic effect on a child, can't
yeah, it can.
it? Yeah. So what's in the offing for you? I mean, you've done some amazing things. Of course, you've had the classical training. You've had the New York credits. What's next?
I think I just want to keep building on being a good dad. I think I want to keep building on being a good teacher, because I think I'm a good teacher. I think as an artist, I want to, see where this play goes. I do think this can connect to other people and see what other projects come. I think my work is not done on me and on my art. And I think maybe how I can influence other people in positive ways.
It has a metropolitan context. It could play in any major city in the country.
We hope so.
Yeah.
We hope so.
And it can show the realm of possibilities, which some people just don't see when they're down and out.
Yeah, I think a lot of inner city kids, and maybe if not even kids that are not in the spotlight, whether it's in West Virginia or somewhere in Detroit or somewhere in who knows where, New York City, California, I think this can connect to a lot of those kids.
Yeah, it's fascinating watching you perform this piece, knowing that at the initial outset that probably 87% of all self-talk is negative. It's the conquering hero or evil villain.
Yeah.
And then watching that self-talk ameliorate some to the point of overcoming that by saying no and allowing yourself to be who you were meant to be. That's a fascinating thing to watch. It's all about self-talk, isn't it?
It is. It is. It is. And at a certain point, those mentors that have been around, believing that positivity and helping that self-talk change from negative to positive. Just taking it by the, you know what, I'm not going to do it this way anymore.
You've written your own show. You've worked with so many others. What advice would you give a young actor who's just coming up about a world that seems to be not as recognized because of all the mass media and social media and television stations and all this exposure to this whole new realm where theater is so important and the actor is key? What advice would you give him or her?
Never stop growing. Never stop asking more of yourself. You will, anchor yourself in family, anchor yourself in where you come from, but don't stop pushing yourself to stretch the possibilities of who you can be as a human being. Because I think that's where I have seen my best growth, is when I've been like, you know what, I need to push past this. I need to this is kind of blocking me, this way of thinking, this way of seeing this. I see this, I need to move past. What is that about? Keep questioning yourself. Questioning other people. What is that about? Is that right? Is that good? Keep doing that. Don't just settle.
I asked a psychiatrist once, a psychologist, I should say, why is it that with all this self-talk, we finally overcome it on a given day, and then we have to go to bed? And you put in your 8 hours, and you get up, you got to start all over again. That's difficult.
Those demons never go away.
No.
They never, they'll rest a little bit, but then they're with me for the rest of my life. And it's just what tools I've gotten to keep them at bay as long as possible, to get work done.
Yeah. Well, theater does that. Performance does that. Art does that. I'm not sure those countermanding forces even understand art.
No.
They just sit aside and wait for you.
For those down moments.
Yes, and then they move back in.
Move back
Yeah.
in. And then it's like, oh boy, here we go.
Here we go again.
Yep, and we have to wrestle.
Yeah. Well, congratulations, a 9-year journey to get to this. That's amazing.
Yeah.
People need to hear that. They need to know that art takes time, that creativity takes time, and the time you invest obviously produces results, and this Antonio song has.
Yeah, I've been very lucky to have a great support group, a great wife, great friends around to push me, mentors. I've been very lucky to keep this going. Like when you said 9 years, it's like, wow, yeah. I said it earlier, yeah, that's a long time.
Yeah.
That's a long time.
Well, you have 2 shows today. If I keep you talking, you're going to have a tough time. So God bless you. Thank you so much for talking with me, Antonio.
Thank you so much.
Beautiful work.
Thank you.
All those transitions, all those different characters, all those different people, talking to shadows. It's all there. It's the work of somebody who's not only been classically trained, but somebody who's at the top of their game.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
I appreciate that.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. Antonio's song. You went through a lot of plays before you found that one. And of course, Antonio also was the co-playwright of that piece. That's an epic story of struggle, isn't it?
And so Dale's words are so poetic and lyrical, they dance off this page.
And lucky happenstance. You know, the unexpected. That's part of theater, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
And how it shapes one.
Yep.
Would you have ever thought at the beginning this man would go to Harvard?
That's what's beautiful about
Yeah.
it. I mean, since the festival's over and we're talking about these plays, you know, it's one of the great many, all of these plays, the 6 that we're doing, have these great sort of twists and turns in it. But it's a moment that brings you to tears in a different way. You know, you're proud as an audience member when he tells you that part of the story.
Yeah.
Because he's been able to, the character, and of course, Antonio Wood Suarez, the actor doing it, is able to allow us into his life in such a way that we care about him. And that's a gift that we suddenly find ourselves caring about this man on stage.
Also a part of this year's festival was the immensely entertaining and touching Support Group for Men, a play which features a group of pals who gather to vent about stalled careers, dash romances, and other middle-age struggles.
We are in a sacred space of safety. We are brothers. We are men. We only talk when we have the stick. Our feelings are our own. We do not give advice or comment on other people's feelings or situations. We are only here to bear witness.
I, Running Buffalo, would like to share.
We are here to listen, Running Buffalo.
So, Lorraine has fibroids. They're growths in the uterus. They can be as big as a grapefruit or even a watermelon sometimes. I don't know how big hers are, but I guess it's pretty painful. And she feels fat. So she's gonna have this surgery later this month where they literally scrape her insides out. The inside of her uterus, actually.
I know someone whose mom died from that!
Kevin, no talking! Kev, running Buffalo has the stick.
Sorry.
I don't think it's that serious. God, I hope not. I just want to be supportive. But one minute she wants to talk about it, and the next she's asking me why I don't hug her like I do.
Thank you for joining us on National Arts. I hope you enjoyed meeting playwright Antonio Edward Suarez and witnessing his amazing performance in Antonio's song, I Was Dreaming of a Son. Until next time, remember, art was meant to be appreciated, so you be a part of it.